Hello, my fellow students. I'm going to show you how to back up your work in CIT 225 and CIT 325 using Git and GitHub. To get started today, I'm here on my GitHub account. I have logged in. If I just hit this button right here to take me here, I'm going to create a new repository. So I'm just going to click here on New, and I'm going to call my repository CIT 325. I notice that this works best if I don't click anything else here, so I'm just going to create repository by clicking right there. And then we're going to remove this, and we are going to be in our Fedora image from now on. So the first thing that I want to do is click on my console. And what I want to do is navigate to the directory that I'm going to be consistently uploading to GitHub. So just for those that are a little less familiar with Linux, I'm going to type in ls to see what my directories are. I see data right there. We're going to be working a lot in there, so I'm going to type in cd data. And if I type in ls again, I can see the folders. If you are in CIT 225, you'll want to go to there, but I'm in CIT 325, so I'm going to type in cd CIT 325, and now I am in this directory. In this directory, I want to install my Git file, and the way that I do that is I type in git init, and this will initialize a Git repository in my CIT 325 directory. Now what I need to do is synchronize this Git repository with my repository on GitHub. My GitHub repository is going to be called my remote repository. To see a list of all the remote repositories that I have stored on here, I'm going to type in git remote. And as you can see, I have no remote repositories. I need to add a remote repository. So to do this, I'm going to type in git remote add, and now I need to put in a name for the repository that I want to add. A good one is called origin. That's a very common one, but you can really put whatever name that you want. And then I need to put the link that goes to my remote repository. In my case, it's going to be here, and for all of those who have GitHub, you're going to have a similar fashion name. So github.com. My repository is at Gail Joseph, and we named it CIT 325. And just to show you, I'm going to bring back my GitHub, and this is where we are going to be sending this repository. Okay, I'm going to hit enter. Okay, it doesn't look like a whole lot has happened, but to just make sure things have worked correctly, I'm going to type in git remote. And here is origin right here, what we named it, or whatever you named it is going to show up right there. If I want to see the full information about my new alias for my remote repository, I'm going to hit git remote -v, and you'll get two lines that show up with whatever your name and the link to where your repository is on GitHub. Okay, now the next thing that we need to do is, if you're already familiar with uploading things to GitHub, this might be familiar, but what we're going to first do is add whatever lab that we want to our GitHub repository. I'm just going to sample this with I'm going to sample this with lab 1. So I'm going to type in git add lab 1. Okay. You might see this mistake or you might not. Don't worry about it, about this error. Everything's working just fine. To make sure that the first step that your add happened correctly, you type git status. You don't have to do this, but you can. And what we see here is that on your Git repository on your Fedora machine, they are now tracking your file that you just typed add to. So we did lab 1, so because my file has a bunch of different files in it, my folder, I should say, has a bunch of files in it, all those files are now being tracked in my lab 1 folder. This stuff right here is untracked. This means that Git can see all these files, but it's not doing anything about it. What Git has done is it has put my lab1 folder and all the corresponding files into what we call a staging area. This staging area will eventually be uploaded to our GitHub account, but not quite yet. We need to do some other steps before we get there. The next step is going to be to commit this. So we type in git commit, and if you type in git commit and just hit enter, you're going to get into this funky screen that's really kind of tough to get out of. So I'll put directions on how to get out of here if you do get stuck here. But to get out of this, you hit escape and then shift colon or shift semicolon, and then your colon will appear down here. You're going to type in X and exclamation point, and that will get you out of this weird little screen that pops up. Okay, because I did not type anything in that weird screen, the git commit command got ignored. So to do this properly without getting into the weird screen, you type in git commit -m, and then you need to type in a message that's eventually going to show up on your GitHub account to explain what happened. So I'm just going to say uploading lab1 first version. Okay, and I hit enter, and we're going to get this message that, you know, everything looks good. And now what we need to do is we now need to get this to GitHub, to your GitHub account. The way we do this is we type in git push, and now we need to use that alias that we created early for our remote repository on GitHub. We named ours for this tutorial origin. You need to type in the name that you created, and then we're going to put this on the master branch. So we type in git push origin master. I'm going to hit enter. And now here's kind of a weird part right here. We need to log into our GitHub account. Even though this says password right here, we don't put in our password on the first window that pops up. We need the username like it says right here. So I'm going to type in Gail Joseph. And I'm going to put the little I here to see that this is my user account. And we're going to hit OK. And now we need the password. So to do this, I'm going to type in mine. Okay, I'm going to hit OK. And it looks like it worked. So enumerating objects done. Looks okay. So now we're going to check this out on my GitHub repository. So I'm bringing back my window over here. I'm going to click on the home button right here. I'm going to go to CIT 325, and there's lab1 folder. I'm going to click on that, and everything out of my lab1 is now on GitHub. There might be some weird errors that you get. I've been getting a lot of weird errors. So let me go through a couple of those that you might get. I'm going to give me one moment to look these up. Okay. This error might come up. It says updates were rejected because the tip of your current branch is behind its remote counterpart. Merge the remote changes, git pull before pushing again. So if you get a weird kind of error like this, there was another error that I got that I can't remember, but what I'm about to do fix both of these errors. If you get the weird error, what you want to do is you want to pull your repository from GitHub and synchronize everything that's on GitHub with what is on your Git repository here on your Fedora machine. To do that, you type in git pull, put your alias that you created, origin, and then master. Now here's the part that you need to add. You need to type in allow-unrelated-histories, and you probably only need to do this one time. If I don't put allow-unrelated-histories and there's some discrepancy between GitHub and the Git repository on my Fedora machine, it won't sync up nicely. So you have to put that in there. So you hit enter. In my case, it's telling me it's already up to date. But in your case, if you had an error message and you're putting this in, it might say something else. And then you go through this process of do your git push origin master, or again, whatever alias you selected, and then you should be able to get a successful message. Let me know if this works for you. You can, for those that I'm posting in my current semester of winter of 2020, you can contact me if you have any questions. I am not a Git or a GitHub master. I'm very new at this, but I spent a few hours trying to figure this out. And so I just wanted to share this with you. I most likely will check the YouTube messages as well if people have questions there. Thank you.